Hey, hello everybody. My name is Brian Locke and I'm doing an impromptu stream today. Um, I am going to finish off something that I was working on a few months ago, and I thought it might make a kind of interesting stream, so I just said I would stream at the same time as I'm finishing it off. So sorry about the short notice, but yeah. Why not? I also may need to run away at any stage because of me just happening to do a stream in the middle of the day. Hey Shine Vision, thanks for saying hello. It's going pretty good. Okay, so let me show you what we'll be working on. Okay, so if any of you have seen Great Scott has one of my first electronics videos that I watched and was like, oh, I really want to make that, was a video by I'm just gonna try and move the camera so I can fit stuff in, Great Scott, and let's actually just take a quick look at his video. Hey Tellerand, thank you for joining. Yeah, let's take a quick look at Great Scott's video to give a little bit of context. And Shine Vision from the Netherlands. Okay, so you can see my screen. Okay, let's go to YouTube. I'm live apparently. Great Scott LED Matrix. Yeah, so this video here by Great Scott, I'm not gonna watch too much of it now or anything, but yeah, so this LED matrix here, I saw this and I was like, this is super cool. And this video is quite old now. It's coming up on 2 years old. But yeah, so I wanted to make one, and I did make the majority of one, and I'll show you what I did now. So different than Great Scott's one, I wanted to make it with an ESP8266 because that's pretty much all I use. But also I wanted to make it Wi-Fi controlled. So I actually, in my review of 2017 video, I highlighted the months that I didn't do any I didn't release any videos, and July of 2017 I didn't release any videos. That's because I was working on this thing, and I spent hours and hours at that, and I never turned it into a video because I wasn't fully happy with how it went. Yeah, so hey Wheat Brixen and hey Gary, how are things? Yeah, I wasn't fully happy with how it went, so I'm not finished with this project in terms of my objective when I was making it was to make it as easy as possible. I thought some of the things that Great Scott did was made it a little bit harder on himself, and even the way I've made it, there's ways we can improve it even further, and I'll talk about them in a bit. But yeah, so let's see what we have here. So that's what we're trying to make, and if we go back to desk with me, so this is what I had. This is parts of it. So this is an Ikea box frame. These are like €5, and they're, I don't know, this square here is about 22 centimeters. Or no, it's 30 by 30 actually. And hey Hawk, how's things? And so I have just that standard standard frame. So it has this kind of insert here, this wooden part, and I made the dividers out of kind of like craft foam, I think it's called. And this was by far the worst part of the project because there's nine columns and 9 rows, so there's 18 of these you need to cut out. And let me just show you what I used to cut them out. I don't know if this is the exact right one, but I 3D printed a shape that matched. Yeah, this does seem like the right one. that matched the size of them. Now my 3D printer isn't big enough to be able to print one that was the full length, so I had to like draw out the shape on the foam and then cut out the individual strands. So this is a different one for a fatter piece of foam, but hey Andy, so like the two things slot into each other like that to, you know, that's what makes up the structure. I won't take them apart now, but so yeah, they're like, this is one solid piece and then that's one solid piece, so they all slot into each other. But like cutting out those things are like, it was like me working on it every evening for like a couple of weeks. Like it was literally, it could have been like 30 hours or 40 hours of me cutting things out. Like it was so long, and then you had to squeeze them all together and it all had to fit or whatever. But that, it worked out okay. But that is the part that I'm least happy with. That is the part I'm least happy with this project, and I'll talk later about potential ways we could do that better. So yeah, and then there is one of those I don't know what you call it, like opaque acrylic sheets. Basically it's white. It does allow some light through it, as we'll see now in a minute. But one of the advantages of using a picture frame for this, like if we bring up Great Scots, you can actually kind of see a gap in the side of his, at the top and the side. But one of the, like, I know I'm terrible at cutting out things, so I try to allow room for error. So like one of the advantages of using a picture frame is that you've got a lip at the front. So like there's a gap in here, you know, that once you got your cut anyway, like you had that much of a margin of error that you could fit your cut into. So once it was anyway straight, it was going to look fine. Like, so this is poorly cut out. You can even see it from, like, you can see it's not straight at all on two sides. I cut from the corner, but when you put it into the frame, you don't see that. It looks perfect all the way around. So so that is that. So hey to Dragon Duress from Makarska. I don't know where that is, but thanks for joining. Sil on Twitch. Today we're going to be finishing off an LED matrix. I'll show a bit more about it now in a second. And then Michael, no problem. Yeah, it was very short notice anyways, but yeah, I hope you had a good time on your trip. So that's the frame part of it, and maybe cord covered soft foam sheets are easier to cut, you know, the ones you make paper presentation sheets. Yeah, it possibly is. I think any cutting anything manually, it looks like an apprentice cut it with a dull beaver. Yeah, I used what did I use for it? I used Dremel with a cutting disc on it. Again, I wasn't too worried about it because I knew I had room to play with it. So the actual, I won't talk with my back to you. The actual LED lights are this. Let's zoom in a little bit closer for this part of it. Now I have it sideways for no apparent good reason. That's not too badly focused actually. Yeah. So, the material for that white thing is plexiglass or acrylic. I bought it off Amazon.co.uk. I'm sure you can get it somewhere better than that. I just didn't know where. I don't think the link that I used to buy it still exists anymore. I'll update the chat afterwards, but as mentioned, like, this is a project I'd like to revisit again if I can make it easier to do. Yeah, so this is awful soldering. I'm just gonna throw that out ahead of time, but this is one way I tried to make it easier than Great Scott's one. So Great Scott, he cut. Let's zoom in a little bit more actually. Oh, I'm at the spring limit of my arm. So yeah, that's not too bad. So Great Scott cut each one of these LEDs out and dropped it into his squares. But I thought that I could get away with not cutting all of them, so I could save myself some soldering. And that worked out fine actually. So I'll just use one of these things. So the acrylic, or not the acrylic, the foam sits down on top of the LED strip like that, and that's fine. The LEDs aren't fully centered, but that doesn't matter because they get diffused by the acrylic anyways. So like it doesn't matter where it is in that box once it's being diffused. It could be anywhere. So yeah, that meant I could half the amount of soldering I needed to do because I could leave these strips intact. And then for I would have, like, if I kept the strips together, I could only get 2 on the strip. If I kept it together, the third one wouldn't fit. So I cut it again and then used just regular stripped wire to connect the 2 of them together. So what Great Scott did was he drilled through the back of his thing and fed wire through that way, and I was like, I am not drilling however many holes that would be. So yeah, I was like, nope, not doing that, and that worked out okay. Again, if I was revisiting this project, I would change it, and I'll talk about that later again. But to quickly mention what I do is, so these strips are I think these ones are 60 per meter, and I was working under the like presumption that I was going to do a 10 by 10, but what I should have done was just made as many as would fit in a row, and for 60 LEDs per meter, 13 fits well in terms of, like, without needing to you wouldn't need to cut it for them to be perfectly, 13 to be centered along. So you would have 13 squares rather than 10 by 10. That again would help with doing something different for the cutting, because if you had 13 of these along and you had 3mm foam like I had, your foam to light ratio would be relatively small. Yeah, so the 30 centimeter or 30 LEDs per meter one is, you could do that too if you wanted to make it less than 10, but to get it as close to 10 as you can get, I think is the 60, which leaves you with 13. So yeah, if you had 30 per meter, yeah, I guess it would be, I don't know, it would end up at being like 7 or 8. I can't fully remember how. Oops, I dropped a tool from my stand there. Sorry if that was super loud. This tool, I hate it. I'd never use it. I really should just throw it in the bin. It's a automatic wire strippers that's awful. So yeah, this I was wrong when I said it was 30 by 30. It's not 30 by 30. So this is you can't see it, but it's 23 centimeters. So that is what you have to work with. So if you did 30 LEDs per meter, you'd only be able to fit like 6 or something, just off the top of my head. Yeah, I guess it's 6 or 7 because 13 fits on the double density of the other one. Yeah, so the third LED would be invisible, but could just be ignored. That would be possible, but the problem is that the LED or the foam would be sitting on top of the LED, and you'd need to allow for that with cutting out the foam. Yep, so that was fine. Another stupid thing I did was it's best to, so I have power and signal coming in here, and it's best to not have just your 5 volts and your ground coming in and going the whole way around like this. So I bridged across the middle, and if I was doing it again, I definitely would not do that. I would connect ground to ground on the strips here and 5 volts to 5 volts on the strips, but I would do it on both sides. So like you would literally have 2 rails of ground and 5 volts going down either side and connected to each row of the LED strips. This worked out okay, but I've a ton of mistakes where like I had to solder to the LED because I made a mistake. This was before I got my TS100 as well. It was the last thing I did with my old soldering iron. This is what drove me to getting a better soldering iron. Yeah, so how they're connected then, the rows are connected to each other using that same pre-stripped wire. It is 24 SWG, the standard tin copper wire. I bought it on eBay or somewhere. So yeah, I just have a join from signal out of this one to signal in. Yeah, so that's that. So let's, I have a kind of crappily hooked up to ESP8266 at the moment. I have standard like 2.1 millimeter input jack. I have a big capacitor on that to try, it's very unfocused, to try smooth out the power rail. I currently have what are these called, a rotary encoder for like changing through different settings. I'm actually running if you search for NeoPixel Tuba, I'm running code by that guy. He gave me some cool animations for this, and we can see it in a second. And like this is used for switching between them. I should have another rotary encoder in here, and I don't. I'm not sure where that's gone. And yeah, other than that, it's basically the ESP8266 is the ESP8266 is connected to the 5 volts for power. It is connected through a diode that's in here. I know it's an absolute mess. So that was just so that I could plug in USB to program this board without needing to plug out this, that they'd be separated from each other. And then yeah, other than that, there's a resistor between signal in and the LED strip, and that's it. The rotary encoder is hooked up, but I'm not gonna hook it up anymore. What I'll probably end up doing is actually installing Mac lighting on this. You know, it's the same software I used for the wedding lights project, so that will leave me with a web interface so I can change it on and off. And then for power, you have a couple of different options with kind of power supplies. I'm using this one, so it's like the shape of a laptop power supply, but it's a 5 volts 8 amp power supply, and it's got a standard 2.1 millimeter head on it. But I'll show you the other common one now. If you wait 2 seconds. So this would be kind of another standard kind of a power supply that you can buy for pretty cheap. So this one is a 15 amp power supply. So it's a good bit more beefy or whatever, but I just thought it'd be a lot tidier to you know, this you have to this you need to manually connect up you know, live and neutral here to screw terminals, which I don't particularly like the idea of, especially because these are actually for my daughter, so who's still very young, but you know, if this is going up in her room or whatever, it will be a lot neater and tidier to have that laptop power supply, or laptop style power supply, than this thing. But yeah. Back into my power supply box. Okay, so I haven't turned this on in a while, so let's see, does it still work? Okay, anything in the chat? Rustling was a good idea for Wi-Fi nightlight. Yeah, it should be pretty nice. It does require a huge amount of power, like as in, there's 100 LEDs on this, and NeoPixels can use like 60 milliamps each, or up to 60 milliamps each, so you kind of need like a 6 amp power supply. Although, I think with the fast LED library, you can tell it, hey, I only have a 5 amp power supply, so whatever I tell you to do, do not make it output more than 5 amps. Yeah, max int, I will link to that. So, okay, let's plug this in. Alright, so it's still working anyways. No, it seemed to crash there. Doesn't seem to be animating anymore. Let's animate there now. So there's probably, I don't know if you can see it, but there's probably a bad connection with this loose lump of soldering, or sorry, wires, and also it's been just floating around my office for I don't know how long. So yeah, so the let's see. So I'm going to assume that the issue with the flickering is to do with these wires over here. But yeah, so that'll go on top of that then, and then this goes on top. And it's kind of hard to see for you guys. Let me see if I can turn off lights or something. Yeah, so that's not showing up super good on camera, but that looks pretty good from here. Yeah, so I don't know if this is, yeah, so here's some different patterns and stuff with the software that sousaphone is the technical name, but everybody knows it as a tuba, I guess, that he did. So it's really cool. I was talking to him on the Adafruit Discord actually, so that's how I got to know him. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to replace this crap, and we're going to replace this crap and make it something more solid, so you know, solder the connections in and different things. Originally I had the plan to like try find somewhere in the case to fit this, and I'm not going to worry about that now. I can do it in the future maybe, but what I'm just going to do instead is, let me just plug out that. What I'm just going to do instead is just turn back on my lights, or desk lights. I'm going to use this. I bought some of these boxes on AliExpress. They're just two little plastic boxes that like kind of clip together, but they're a really good size for Wemos D1 Minis. So I'm gonna put one of those in along with one of these 2.1 millimeter jacks, and yeah, just gonna maybe like double-sided sticky tape it to to the bottom of the thing, or maybe the top, or sorry, the back, or whatever. So yeah, see how it goes. When you lifted the translucent sheet, the diffusion made a nice effect. Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, I think that's down pretty low as well in terms of brightness to try like take a photo of it or whatever, but it can get like super bright. But yeah, let's play around with that. Okay, so what we need, we can kind of put this to the side for a minute because it's not really needed. Like, I have alligator clips and all sorts of things holding this together, so I'm surprised that I'm surprised it still works at all, but yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about, let's bring this in much closer than this. I'm not going to worry about exposing the micro USB, the micro USB connector, because I won't need to update it too much. Yeah, so if I do need to update it, I'll just open up the box and, you know, lift up whatever I need. So the actual only components that I need for this are the 2.1 millimeter input. I'm gonna have wires coming in from the matrix. I might, if screw terminals will fit in here, I might make them screw terminals so they can be plugged out or whatever, and if not, I'll just solder them into to a perf board or whatever that's fitting in here. I need the LED for the input protection, and then I also want a diode to connect to the 5 volts line of the Wemos D1 Mini, so that if I do plug in the 5 volts power, it is not connected to that. Although I have a feeling it already does that, but I'm not too sure. I think there's a diode going from the 5 volts of this that way, so maybe it is already protected. Maybe that is worth testing actually. So let's do that first, because it'll save me a bit of wiring if that is the case. Let me explain what I mean first. I suppose. Okay, you can see my terrible handwriting now. So Ruslan, the max LED size or matrix size, I think the answer to that question is it depends, but it can support something like an ESP8266 can support a lot of pixels. Your issue with a lot of pixels is power. I see a big red mark on my OBS. That's not good. Yeah, if you could let me know if you can still see and hear me okay. I might need to change some settings up, but I see some drop frames in OBS, which is not good. Let's see. I'm looking at the Twitter or Twitch bitrate stream, and it took a big dip, but it seems to be okay now. Well, no, not looking good. Okay, OBS seems to have fixed itself. Yeah, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know you will know that I did some network changes in my house, and maybe that's the cause of the problem. I am on mobile broadband too, so I'm at the mercy of how good signal is and things like that. So it looks like it's sorted now. But basically, what I would like to do is, so this is my Wemos. Here's my micro USB port, and here's the 5-volt connection. So my 5-volt power is going to be, the thing that's powering the Wemos is going to be coming from here, like coming from the 5-volt pin, or going to the 5-volt pin. And what I don't want to happen is that if I plug in a micro USB cable in here, that this 5-volt power goes back to my PC. Yeah, I have a feeling though that there is already one there. So what I had been doing before was that, like, say this was my 5-volt source, that I had a capacitor. Oh no, sorry. I know what I want to do now. There is a diode. There is a diode stopping this 5-volt pin connecting to the micro USB cable. But what the issue is that I don't want the micro USB cable powering the LED matrix, or even attempting to power it, because it just won't work. Like, so what I want to do then is I want to put a diode going that direction, so that if the 5-volt power line is connected up here, you know, the power can flow through that way. But if that's not connected, the micro USB cable can't power that way, so it won't try power all the LEDs. So yeah, I do need it. What capacitor am I using on the 5-volt input? Good question. 220 microfarad capacitor, so I guess I need one of those too. And yes, I should probably leave some room for a logic level shifter anyways, because sometimes NeoPixels don't work with the 3.3 volt input, but other times I find it works perfectly. So I'm not fully sure what the scenario is that allows that, but yeah, maybe I'll just include one anyways. If it fits in the box especially, why not? We might be a little bit tight for space, but we'll see. Yeah, so like that's actually a good point. If you're using NeoPixels with an ESP8266 and something's not happening the way you'd expect, like the colors aren't changing at the right time or whatever, or they're not changing to the right colors, the first thing I check is, does it work okay with a logic level shifter up to 5 volts? So yeah. Another thing I've seen people do is I think they connect a diode to ground of the ESP8266, which kind of brings its logic level up. I can't remember exactly what they were doing, but it seemed clever, too clever for me. So let me grab the stuff. I won't have you looking at my gut while I reach up above, so you can see just my desk. What do I want? I need capacitor. Shifter if we need it. Yeah, so Sil on Twitch has made a good point about you only actually need to level shift to the first one, and then like the first pixel passes on the signal to the next pixel. So yeah, once the first one works okay, the rest of them should work fine. And yeah, so sometimes actually putting a small capacitor between input and ground, I think it is. I did it on the map project, the commute checker project, works. And yeah, that's all I did for that one. So I guess the first thing I need to do is cut this to shape. So this is just standard perf board. I want it to fit in there. So let's do that. So this will be the fun part of the stream, watching me do stuff. First thing I need to do is find my knife. I have a knife there, but I thought I had a sharper one. 1 second. Here, and I'll, if any are from the UK or Ireland, it's a Poundland special, or deals if you're in Ireland. And I'll change out the blade as well, just to get a sharp one for cutting the board, and probably cutting myself. Actually, I can probably just swap this blade around. I haven't done that before, so there we go. Plastic cover on. Although, actually, I don't know if are both sides plastic. I think the silver side is metal, but I'm not 100% confident on that. Right, cool. Right, Interesting. Okay, so I need to solder some header pins onto this as well. So I need to get my soldering iron. Start of my live streams at TS100. So we can't miss the super fast boot up time. That's what everybody's here for. Okay. It's gone a bit red again. Maybe it's worth dropping down to 720p. That's okay again at the moment, so let's see how it goes. If it drops again, maybe we'll stop and start it at 720. Okay, so there we go. Go, little soldering iron, go. So, yep, super fast. So now it's sufficiently ready to burn me. But let's, so just judging by the fit in here, I don't think I'm gonna be able to fit an extra row in. I guess I don't really need it. You know, I could put the wire on top. Let's see how it goes. I think I'll only be able to fit exactly what I fit in there. Okay. Is there any side that's ooh, that's so close to fits. Just that way without doing anything. But I am gonna need to cut it, I think. Which is a pity. But anyways. Okay. Where is my metal ruler? Hanging up where it's meant to be. It's unlike me. Okay. Yeah, sorry about the dropped frames. I guess the mobile internet is busier on Sunday, or else it's my or else it's the network changes I made. But, I don't know. Okay, so I'm just gonna score this with a knife and probably use snips then to so what I'm just doing is I'm using my metal ruler and I'm putting it alongside these holes here, so I'm using the holes almost as a guide too with the metal ruler. So I probably need to go over this a few more times, but we'll see. No, seems okay. And there we go. So maybe you'd use a file or something here. I don't see my file at hand, so oh well. Yeah, so my daughter is a bit too young at the moment, but I'm hoping she's into stuff, but we'll see. So I'm going to just get rid of this top part here as well, because it's not a whole lot of use to me. Yeah, my daughter's only 18 months old, so it's hard to know what she's into at the moment, but she does seem to like LEDs and grabbing my mouse, so I've got high hopes. Okay, so hopefully this breaks apart. It does. Okay. So that fits okay in there now. So now I just need to decide what's the last one. Probably here. I have a good bit of this stuff, so I can if I waste it, I waste it, but we'll see how it goes. I think that will make it a good fit. Just how does that look in terms of an ESP on it? Yeah, there's room for one row other than that. Other than the ESP, but I can possibly fit some wires like in the in-between section as well. So oops, I didn't have a good enough hold of that. No. Another thing I like to do is use blue tack to hold it in place, but I don't know why I didn't do that today. see how it goes if I start up here. Hopefully I'll get a run at it. Yep, so it broke. Alright. So now it seems like I have the right amount cut, but it's just not just quite fitting in. There's a, yeah, so kind of where it broke, let's zoom in so I can show you what I'm talking about. You can kind of see it there. So like it's cut up the top, but at the back there's a little bit left, so I'm just kind of snipping off those pieces now. See if I can show you me doing it. So I'm literally just using the pliers and breaking that off. I'll try this on the other side if there's anything that's not properly snipped off. I should have a file as well. I'll take a quick look for that now in a second. Okay. Yes, I do have my file. I don't think I ever did the whole taking radios apart to see how they work thing. I don't remember doing it anyways. So my soldering iron is turning off there because I'm not using it. So it's a tiny bit tight. It'll fit with some more filing, I guess. Specifically these edge parts that are kind of a bit more sticky outy. Okay, that'll fit. There. Fits like a glove. Now, how do I get it out? Oops. This solder hook tool that I've no idea what it's actually used for, but perfect for hooking out boards that are a good fit. Yeah, I've definitely been there, Gary. It's harder to put things back together than take them apart. Let's see. Okay, where are we? There. It's not focused. Yep, not too bad. Yeah, so that's a good fit. So now I'm gonna put in the ESP. I guess like that. No, not like that. Like that maybe. Yeah, so the reason I want to place it that way rather than the other way is because this is going to be over this direction, and that would be in the way. Yeah. Yeah, I'd say by the time my daughter is old enough, who knows who will be the inspiration in the future or whatever. Yeah, a couple other someone on Twitter linked me to another channel, that I thought was really interesting too. I think it's Blitz City Make. Blitz. It's funny, at the start of all her videos she says what the name of her channel is, and it's like something like Blitz City Make, but she says it so fast it doesn't it doesn't have any kind of meaning to me or whatever. Yeah, what is her name? It is Blitz City DIY, but it's like, hey, this is Blitz City DIY. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I don't remember what she said, but yeah, you should definitely check out her channel. She's a lady called Liz that's either from America or Canada. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, no, she's good. I'll definitely recommend checking her out. I don't think I'm gonna have the space for the screw terminals anywhere. This is just too small of a case. Yeah, like I can barely fit them in even. So I'm just gonna solder to the board, I guess. Yeah, I don't see any other way of doing that. It's a tight squeeze, to be honest now, all of this. I probably should have done something else or used a bigger case, but let's see how it goes. That's the logic level shifter. I can probably fit that in underneath the ESP. Maybe not, actually. Yeah, I wonder how deep of a case this is, because if I use some of the like female headers, I hate 3D printing. Well, actually, I hate designing, and I hate waiting to see does it work or not. Is my main hates of it. So if I have enough room in the case, I can buy myself some height, and then I can put components underneath the ESP. And I'll show you what I mean by that now. So if I put one of these female headers here, and this female header here, and then I probably should just solder the pins onto the ESP8266, because either way I'm using those. It would be a much smarter idea if I connected them together first. So these are just both pins that come with a Wemos D1 Mini. So it's the female type and the male type. So if I do that, my ESP is almost on stilts, but it's going to be too big, I would say, for this case. Might have to break out the blue tack here to hold everything. Yeah, like the case is nowhere near that big. I might even have problems fitting it in without the stilts. Oh, that's another problem, isn't it? No. Okay, definitely not gonna fit in with the stilts. So let's I guess if I'm not using the rotary encoder and all I'm doing is using an output of one pin, I could use a regular ESP8266. I'm not a huge fan of them, they're just harder to work with, but I guess in this scenario it would buy me more room in the case. Do you know what? It's not a bad way to go, I'd say. One second. I'm gonna have the same problem if I try use one of these, just so I can easily take it out if I want to program it. It's gonna be a closer fit, but it's not gonna fit. I guess I can just put in a block like that I can hook into. So the problem is that, like, if I need to program, if I need to program this again after after it's in its final resting position, then I need to have access to the pins. I guess I could put in this block up here or something and just hook all the pins together. It'd be a lot of soldering. It's just a pity it doesn't fit in. Why do those blocks need to be so big? Yep, it's not gonna fit, and it's quite a long way away from fitting too. Right, so that's not really an option. So am I best off? I think I'm best off just using this with the D1 Mini and my wife is currently talking to her mom about how my two dogs aren't gonna fight. Her two dogs, I think her dogs are out for a walk. They're talking about calling up. Will this capacitor even fit? It's my daughter knocking on my door. It'll fit if it's bent over. Okay. I think we're thinking too much about this. Let's just see how we go. Let's solder onto the regular pins onto the D1 Mini, and let's get to it. So by the time I'm finished designing the case and printing it, we'll all be asleep. Come out. I actually do have some bigger cases. Where are the cases? these style ones as well, which are considerably bigger, but it's almost too big for what I want it for. So no, this is going to be fine. I also think that this might be temporary too. That I might do something else with this board at some stage. So yeah. Okay, I'm working off camera. Apologies. Ugh, I know from experience, so I'm just going to use the breadboard to just make sure that I have the right spacing and that they're nice and straight and things like that. So that's some in there. Let's get myself some solder. Where is my solder? Oh, there it is. Underneath that big mess on my desk. Okay. Let's just so I'm just going to tin the tip of my iron. There is my wife's family. So I'm planning to hear a big load of dogs barking at some stage, but sure, let's see how it goes. Let's get you in nice and close. Well, I kind of have tried the circle already, still with the breadboard. You know, the one that I'm not sure if you were on earlier, but I have tested it already. And even if it doesn't work, I can use that capacitor method that I was talking about before, so I should be okay size-wise. Okay. So you're nice and close. I kind of started from the wrong side here, I would say, but anyways. Oh, that didn't flow too well. I'm very far away from it. There we go. Actually, I haven't properly soldered in a good while. Just been kind of doing more software-y things for the last month or so, and yeah, these D1 Minis have quite big holes in them. The genuine Wemos ones, the pin holes are much tighter to the pins. I guess that's kind of both good and bad in some ways. Like if you're ever putting stranded wire directly into the like pin connections, the GPIO pin connections, you'd be happy for the extra room, but yeah, I guess it's a less solid connection for than just these regular pins here, but if it's soldered okay, it should be more than enough. I really need to set up my... I don't have an extractor, but I keep planning on making one, but I haven't made one yet. like I have old PC fans, and I even bought that carbon filter stuff, but oops, just the time to do it. Yeah, the Circuit Playground Express is a board that I really like the idea of. If you're not familiar with it, it's it is, I think it's an M0 board, so it'd be like a more powerful standard Arduino. And it has like a load of sensors built into it. So like there's different like lights and there's a gyroscope, I think, and has neopixels around in a circle. It's a pretty cool board, beginner's board, I would say, because you don't need to worry about any soldering or anything. Like just hook up to this board and you can start doing a load of different projects. And it's not expensive either. It's like $20 or something. It's definitely reasonable. Yeah, so that's that. Now, next thing I want to check is that with these pins it fits, because that is a concern of mine. I think it should though. It does fit. Cool. So that's good. And I even have a nice little bit of room underneath. And a light sensor. Yeah, so Max Sill is on Twitch, and I'm using Restream.io's chat chat client to show the chats from both on screen. So that thing, where am I? Up there, is a combination of the Twitch and YouTube chats. Yeah, so I just thought it'd be good to show them from both. It adds a tiny bit of a delay to the YouTube chat anyways, but it's like a second or two. It's not really a huge deal, I would say. So okay, that looks pretty good. So yeah, that it actually leaves me some room as well to it leaves me a tiny bit of room to bring some wires out, or bring the wires in, I guess would be a better description of where I need to bring the wires. My dogs are singing away there. Oh, it's not. Yeah, great. My channel is gonna turn into a YouTube Twitch flaming war. No, I actually, so I use YouTube a lot more myself. But yeah, when I started to do the streaming, I said I'd go on Twitch too, and yeah, I liked it actually. I used it a good bit more since, and yeah, I like it. It's good, but I have a much bigger audience on I have a much bigger audience on YouTube than Twitch. I don't think I stream. I probably don't stream enough to be worthwhile on Twitch. Although I am streaming every Monday now, so it's scheduled stream every Monday. So that's something, I guess. But then yeah, as I mentioned, like I've a much bigger audience on YouTube, so kind of makes sense that YouTube streams are more popular for me. Okay, so that's that. What's next? I need to connect my diode to 5 volts. Oh, where did I do my little drawing? That way. Right, I can do that. How am I going to do this now? So I need to solder something to ground back to this this guy, and then I also need to use my capacitor again. There it is. So I also need to fit this capacitor in here. Yeah, this is tight. Okay. So the internal one is 5 volts. And then so the short one is 5 volts and the long one is the negative side, so I can nearly just put it in like that. Oh, why did I do this so small? Doesn't matter. Maybe Syl was right about 3D printing a bigger case. Oh, that's going to be an issue, is it? So I'm just seeing his potential issue is no, there's enough of a gap there. Okay. Cool. Alright, so let's drill out this case actually to fit this in. So I'm just going to use a cone bit to do that. Okay, see you, Max, or Max Int, thanks for joining. Okay, so let's put it up a tiny bit here. So I'm just going to drill my cone bit through here. Let's see, is that big enough? Just 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, so I drilled a bit of a hole out in this, but it's not big enough yet. So we're gonna go One more. Oh, should be big enough. It is. So it comes with a nut, but we mightn't use it because we don't really need it, I would say. Because if we just kind of hot glue it into place on one of the sides, maybe. I guess it makes it a bit easier for myself if I put this in the smaller one, and then does that work? Looks okay, anyways. Yeah, so I think, oh, I guess the nut would work, right? There's enough of a hole to hold it into place. This isn't wide enough. Daughter's pretty upset over something. Probably about how this stream is going. Alright, so that looks nice anyways. Okay. Let's get the next part of this done, I suppose. I guess to buy myself some room, I could put the ground wire in behind. That would probably make sense. So like when I have, I don't need this drill anymore. When I have this here, like I have room underneath here. I don't have a huge amount of clearance, but I would have enough for I'd have enough for a wire, no problem. And then I could put the diode here. Yeah, I think I might just do that. Diode here, and I could connect another wire to connect. I'm using like D6 or something for some reason, I don't know, but it works for me, so I'll leave it that way. So I can just leave the diode out here. And yeah, that should work pretty good. Ugh, come on. Fit in. Alright, so that should work for that. I don't know if you can hear my wife's rendition of Itsy Bitsy Spider. She's not the greatest singer in the world though. And don't worry, I'm not saying that behind her back. I tell her that to her face all the time. Not stranded wire. Leave that down there. Okay. Far Cry. It's all kicking off here. I'll use my wire strippers. Hey, so these wire strippers have a problem with this black wire for some reason. They're slightly racist, maybe. It's just, it won't do, it just won't do this one wire. All the rest of them strip fine, but it just leaves this kind of mark here, and then I have to finish it off. It's better than not having the wire strippers, but yeah. It possibly would be craft, but if I supply the ESP using at the 5 volt side, I can yeah, I guess the diode isn't as important now, because like in order to program this I'll need to plug it out, you know, because I need to lift it out of this case, but I'll probably just include it anyways. But like it means that I can only have one power in, and it works fine. So ground is gonna go in here. Oops. Let's see how that goes. And then if I put my ESP on top of it, so that, you know, fits pretty nice in there. So I think that's probably worth a solder. Hey, just to hold it in there, and then I'll strip it here. Hey, let's see, so I'll cut here, and I'll strip here. Oops, I still have a piece stuck in there. So again, didn't strip properly. So let's finish it off with the snips. I could have done a better job bending this diode, but that'll do. I'll put that in afterwards. So let me just double check I have this right. I'm putting that to there, so it's 4 in is my ground. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'll yeah, I want to use some blue tack here. I just want to get desk is such a mess. I just want to get the wire nice and tight down. I'm just gonna bend it towards this direction too. I need to leave enough space for it to for the ESP pin to be able to go into it, but that should do me okay. Yeah, is this still awake? No, it's gonna sleep. That'll do. So I just want to hold it in place for the minute. so I can see kind of how else things are going. So yeah, that looks fine. There's no significant exposed connection, so when I put this in on top of it, like nothing will short at the bottom there anyways. So yep, that looks perfect, and I have it okay to solder there too. I won't do that just yet though. And let's do the same with let's use yellow for signal, I guess. Look up wire. Let's use green. So lift this up. Clean out my wire strippers here. There's the green one perfectly stripped. So what am I using for that? 2 seconds. So I'm using a resistor connected to D7 on the one that already works, so I may as well stick with the same, no point changing up. So D7 is in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bend it down like this. Bend it up that way. And we'll put just a little bit of blue tack. Should be good. Yeah. Might as well use my blue tack as my thing for holding it. Oops. Should be good. Okay. Yeah, let's just take a quick look at who's around. We've got 3 viewers on Twitch, Sil and me probably, and one other. Hello to you. Then on YouTube I have 19. So hello to all of you. And okay, so that's good. I am actually going to be safe here because I know Sil was giving out to me before about it. I'll put on these terrible goggles when I use my snips. But like the wire does fly. Oh no, I don't want to snip yet. It was close. Because I need to solder them to the pin of the ESP. But yeah, the wire does fly everywhere, so you should put goggles on when you're snipping. Right, so that gives me that. Which fits fine in here. So that's all good. I still need to see how I'm gonna fit in the wires from the LED matrix. So say I have a wire like that. It's hardly gonna go under it. Probably go over it, maybe. Yeah. I'd say over will work okay. I even have a little bit of wiggle room in terms of, yeah, under or over. It doesn't really matter that much. I could maybe like notch out a bit here for it to go. or hold the wires while you cut. Yeah, that's another thing you can do too. But if it's a small enough piece that you need to cut off, you know, it's like that's kind of hard to hold and cut at the one time. So it's probably better safe than sorry. Yeah. So okay, that's the easy stuff done. Now, how am I gonna attach this thing? I guess just with wire. Yeah, I'll solder wire to this and a bit of heat shrink, and I'll leave myself a little bit of extra spare so I can have room to do other stuff. I'm still not 100% sure how everything's gonna fit though. These guys are now in my way, so I think I will snip a bit of them. As it shoots across my desk. That one didn't shoot across my desk. Yeah. So what are we doing? I want to put this in here. I think I'll have to notch out a little bit more of the maybe not of the breadboard. If I want to put it up in this, I will. This is going to be in the way of that being centered. Yeah, this capacitor is going to not fit, I would say. Maybe just about. Let's see how we fit in this side. So if we put this over here, will that fit height-wise? No. I'm going to need to notch out some of the board. It would help if I put it in the right way. It's close. Either way, I don't think it's a huge advantage for me for it being there. I have a little bit more room on that side. Okay, so either place the capacitor fits. Just about. Just bend that over there for a minute. Yeah, that'll probably fit. So if I put that in there. Then bend it this way. It's just when we're at it, bend it back again that way. Bend it back around again. I suppose I could just cut now. So no, it's not going to be any longer than that. And then this is going to fit in here. Okay, let's cut that. I know I can tell by the marking on the capacitor which leg is which, but I'll leave one a little bit longer than the other to maintain that. That went that way, but somehow ended up over there. Quite impressive. Okay, so I don't really need the ESP8266 in there at the moment. I guess it does because it changes the height of the. It changes the height of the. Of how far the breadboard is off the bottom, or the perf board. That is very close to this thing. I guess if I turned it that way, it's not too bad. Yeah. I definitely need to insulate that pretty good anyways. Don't think anybody will be impressed with this. Yeah, I can put a bit of heat sleeving around the entire part of this. That'll probably help. Yeah, okay, cool. That should do it. So let's solder this capacitor in just yet because it's not too bad where it is. I'm gonna get some black and red wire. This is normally the part of projects that I hide from me, where I'm fumbling over stuff and trying to figure out what to do. You just see my nice smooth finished products, which aren't always smooth, but not the worst, I would say. Okay, so the other side I'll make a bit tighter than that. Let me strip a little bit more, I suppose. I'll just cut what I have afterwards. I'll do. Let's do the same for this. Just a bit longer for some reason. There we go. Right, so let's cut 2 of these down. Put back on my safety goggles. Right, so I might solder this in place. The long side is ground. Put a bit of heat shrink between on both of them, and then heat shrink the. Oh, that's a good idea, actually, Chris. Chris is saying to use some scrap insulation. That's a really good idea. I'm gonna steal that. So scrap insulation from stripping the wire over the cap legs. So I think this would be okay to fit in here. I think this is what you mean, right? I can put a bit there, and I A similar size bit. So now when I need to cut it a tiny bit, but yeah, it's a cool idea. So now there's less chance of it shorting out against anything. Cool idea. Yeah, nice. This is the Chris Morda method of wire stripping a cap protection. Let me just twist this around because it's stripped that way. Cool idea. Indeed. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that works great. Okay. Cool. Let me get down my heat shrink. Space to leave. Crap. I think this is the smallest heat shrink I have. Yep, should do the trick here anyways. Just gonna cut a small bit off. Yeah. Where's my blue tack? Probably need more than what I have here, but we'll see. I'll keep it straight. Pick up soldering iron. So I don't need to put the heat shrink on yet because it's loose wire here, but it is something you need to constantly be keeping an eye out for. Let's heat it up now. So it's the long side is ground, so let's do that first. Yeah. Probably do it a bit more solder on this. It's not actually too sure. I think we can do a bit better. It's not bad, but we can do better. Need to bring more solder to the party, maybe. Oh, that looks pretty good now, isn't it? No, that's way worse. Let me bring more solder to the party. Ugh. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing at all. Hey, Craig, how's it going? Yes, you're even. Greg is obviously from Australia or Japan, presumably Australia. Good morning. Is it 2 hours in? Ugh, it is nearly 2 hours in. I thought this would be like an hour job or whatever, but if you're ever doing live streams, everything takes about 4 hours, or 4 times more than you think it's gonna take. I'm not super happy with that still. And now I've got blue tack in my 2.1mm socket. Okay, let's do this right. More blue tack. Do you know what, actually, I could use, I'm not a big fan of it, but it's probably the right place to use it. I'm not a huge fan of these kind of helping hand things. I just don't think they're that great, but probably ideal for this kind of a thing. Although maybe not either. Try one more time by hand, because there's a ton of solder on the leg now and the wire. Okay, that's perfect. Now, one down, one to go. So let's do that on the outside here. Although if I do it on the inside, I get the benefit of the wire shrink being going on a bit smoother. It will be a long time waiting for that to melt, putting the wire up without any solder. Let's throw away more solder into the party. Yeah. How does that look? Pretty good, actually. Hey, that looks pretty good. Yeah. Yep, they're both fine. Let's put a bit of heat shrink on each of them now. It's kind of hot. What happened to my vacuum vise? What do I have? Oh, sorry, yeah, that's over there. It'd be too small for this, I would say. If I was doing a board, a proper board, I'd probably use it alright, but normally if I'm just soldering something simple like this, I'll just use blue tack, but yeah. Yeah, that should do. I might just use the heat off my soldering iron to melt this. Because I don't want to burn the plastic of the. I want to burn the plastic of the socket with the lighter. I know it's just how time zones work or whatever, but I still kind of struggle to get my head around just the difference in time zone between the continent of Australia and us here. Like, just, I don't know. Like, there's even so much of Sunday left, and it's already Monday for you. And like, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. So I can use this stuff now to go over the whole top of it, but I also want to leave room for it to fit in, and I can't just do that either. Well, I could cut off some of that thing. You know, I could be okay with what I have here. Like, I'm pretty happy with that. I won't bother put anything else on. Although, one thing I might have an issue with now is I might have an issue with how far or how long I left the heat shrink, that it could make the wire stick out too far or stick too close to the ESP. And I think it will. Some crack being had in my kitchen at the moment, whatever's going on. Yeah, so do you see what I mean here? I guess I can just stick it underneath the ESP and kind of hook it back around or whatever if needed. It's just gonna bend it. I don't know what is going on. I don't know if you can hear that, but there is a commotion. Okay, so that does fit okay. You know, pretty tight for space, but it'll do. Okay, cool. So that fits in, and like if I bend this around, presumably the case will close together. Not perfectly, but it'll do. I think it'll go in okay once I screw it in place. But yeah. Okay. Time to solder down the ESP, will I? I think I'll have enough room to push wire underneath here if I need to, even after the ESP is soldered down. I don't think I need as much to go under there, just some of it. Yeah, there's 7 people on Twitch. Hello to all of you. Maybe America is waking back up. Yep, so if you're just joining, I'm finishing an LED matrix project that I worked on back in July. I just kind of had it loosely connected up with crocodile clips and other things, but yeah, I just want to push the circuit into something small and compact and get it finished off, or at least to a stage where I can start using it or whatever. So yeah, that fits in okay there. I still have 3 more wires to go though. This is maybe so I was right. Should have just 3D printed a new case. No, this is gonna be fine. Alright, so I can just, I'm gonna solder in the capacitor and the wire, and I'll worry about pushing it through. I'm just gonna, there's a little bit of a lip here that I'm just going to cut. They might, but they should be insulated by the, like, the ESP module is this black board, and then there's this blue board here, so all the wires should be underneath that, so I'm hoping the antenna just works out the front or whatever. I'm hoping. That could easily not be the case, but we'll see. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a lip here that I think I'm just gonna cut and get rid of, because like it's covered when you close the case on top of it, and it makes it less easy to drop this in. It means I won't be able to screw it in anymore, but I'm okay with that, I think. Actually no, I'll still be able to screw it in. It just could slide out, but that's fine, because this will hold it in place. Okay, you go away, ESP. Alright, so my cap is this way, so I have red here and black here. Despite my efforts to keep them the same length, they are not the same length. It's okay. I'm just going to fold it this way for the minute. Yeah, let me fold the capacitor. Actually, no, if I fold the wire back towards the capacitor, I'm pretty happy with where the capacitor is sitting at the moment, so then do maybe it's vice time. Crafty. I do not use OTA at all. I've never used it. It's something I keep meaning to do, and I will get to at some stage, but I haven't up to this point used it at all. So this is my suction cup vise that I'm going to try here for the first time. I don't even actually have the suction cup part on, but it's so heavy that it's not going anywhere. It actually isn't bad for this. There has these rubber things on them that maybe aren't helping me at the moment, but let's loosen that up a small bit. So this rubber thing is just lifting up rather than it getting tighter, it's just lifting up that rubber thing. So I might need to do some modifications on this yet. Here we go. Nice. Okay, so let's do this red one first, I think. So I'm just going to put a bit of solder on it, and then I can manipulate it around a small bit. Can you see that? That's not too bad. It's a bit bright. What is making this so bright? Is it this? Yeah, that's probably a good idea to take the... What might be good as well, actually, is it looks like that the black part underneath the rubber jaw kind of slots off, or screws off. Maybe a 3D printed thing with kind of grooves for the circuit board would be pretty good. Okay, I'll put a bit of solder on this. Is my iron on? Nope. Make sure that I have this red wire pushed up as far as I can when I'm soldering. It's done there now. Now, don't touch the metal part of this wire because it's now very hot. Flatten it out a bit. Should do it. Now, let's solder in this capacitor. Yeah, I don't think mine had grooves anyways. Maybe it has one groove actually. No, it does have one groove. So maybe it'll be alright. Great solder connection now, 1 second. That looks a bit better. Just for a bit of extra stability, let me just solder here too. Yeah, that's pretty good, it's it. Yeah. Let's push this black one up as far as possible. Tilt it to the side. Yeah. It's holding itself in place pretty good actually, so I might get away with soldering straight to it. Looks good. Oh, just put my solder down here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go cook dinner pretty soon, but hopefully we're nearly finished. If you are on my streams ever, you know I always say that. Yeah, I guess it does have a couple of grooves there. Maybe that is the way to go. Suction vise for the win. Alright, so that is pretty good. Yeah. So I'm just gonna fold these wires underneath. It's a bit longer than I thought, maybe. Either way, fit in okay. So I'll just base it on this side. Yep. That looks pretty good. Just make sure the Wemos sits on top of it. Other way around. This turned into a tight squeeze. I don't think that needs to be that tight there. Does it fit okay before? Yeah, I have some room to play around with, so yeah, that's okay. Alrighty-o. Okay, I still have a resistor to fit in here somewhere. So I should finish it. Let's solder the ESP in there. I'll worry about the rest of the stuff now in a minute. I guess why wouldn't I use why did I leave this wire so long? I should have cut this wire much shorter than this. They're pretty well soldered in now at this stage too, so I don't know. I don't know where I could put it actually. Up around the cap. Yeah, the problem I have with reversing the Wemos is that I won't be able to plug in the micro USB cable if it's facing this way. Come on. Why did I leave that red and black wire so long? It's not gonna fit that way. I'm not sure what I was doing here. Maybe I should just take this opportunity to make them much smaller. Yeah. Rather than fight with it, let's just do it. Whoopsies. 10er-gauge wire. Yeah, I can't make it too much thinner though, because that's the stuff that needs to carry a few amps in it, so I am going to maybe I have it this way. Let's have it this way. So I'm gonna make it way shorter. And look, it does have grooves in it. Just gonna burn myself here, but we'll see how it goes. To make this job easier on myself, I'm just gonna snip the wire before it goes to the capacitor. So then when I'm desoldering, yeah, they're going for a walk. And this one I might need to snip again. I'm not sure if I snipped it true. I must have. That bridge, but I'll fix that now in a second. I just want to get rid of this wire. Come on. There we go. Let's fix this bridge. Definitely don't want that. There we go. And I may as well try and tidy up this hole here. This has been going pretty well, actually. Perfect. Who needs a solder pump when you can just drag stuff? Maybe adding up before resoldering wires. Yeah, you see, what I was thinking I would do, so weirdly bright. What I was thinking I'd do if I clipped those parts there, that if I left the wires actually pretty short, that this whole board would just be able to lift out, and it would include this being kind of attached to it too. So then, you know, to put the board back in, I could just drop it in, and then when I held these two things closed, it would just hold it in place or whatever. But I guess if I want to stand any chance of having the nut on, I would need to put it on now. So maybe it's, yeah, it's probably worth putting the nut through, even if I'm not fully using it to hold it in place. Where I put it there. Yeah, even having it on so that it can't be pulled out any further is probably worth it. So I'm just gonna, oops, put it on a bit there. That side, yeah, I'm just gonna clip those things. Do that now. There we go. So like yeah, it still has a full hole to hold it in place behind the nut, but it just can slot down into it. Yep, that's a good idea. So yeah, it can slot in now. Yep, that works pretty good. Good suggestion, thank you. Right, I'm gonna make these wires way shorter. Let me just pull this out and see what I kind of have to work with. So let's take that. If I used a bigger case, I'd be finished by now. So if I have a little bit of room over here, so just say for example I was going over the top, which I don't want to be, but if I get rid of some of the heat shrink, it'll be a bit more flexible. I don't need as much as I have. Just trying to, oops, I'm blocking E. So I just cut a little strip down. Now I'm trying to cut around just to get rid of some of the heat shrink to make the wire a bit more flexible before it gets to the ESP. I could probably even use that much to make it bendy. Too bad. See how that is. And it still probably needs to go underneath the ESP. Even I could have to strip off a good bit of the wire shrink to be able to fit it not underneath it, so I think it will have to go underneath and bend back a bit. So I guess it probably fits better if I go like that. Maybe we're soldering it kind of high, the ESP. Yeah, that actually probably makes sense. Gives me a bit more room for stuff. Okay. Happy enough that that fits there, so I'm just gonna cut here. Strip a small bit of it. Where is my wire strippers going? Over here. So I've been looking around. Would have been nice for my project. 100. So remove the heat shrink and cut those tabs back to a much shorter length and resaw it. Those are crazy long. Yeah, maybe that's not a bad idea either. Yeah, they would have been handy, so I'll just show everybody else what you link to. The only problem is that yeah, soldering to that. Soldering 100 of anything is a major pain. So I think make me is right. Why wouldn't they make it shorter? It's getting dark in here. fairly light. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. If I make those tabs shorter, I could also probably solder my wires more tactically as well. So rather than solder them along, the that direction, if I solder them just downwards, I think that makes more sense. Yeah, it does. Just take that from there. So if I put that like that, yeah, if I soldered down, it would be much easier. Okay, let's give that a go. Now, what do I want to do? I want to use a big blob of let me lift it up a small bit normally. Sorry, not on the screen. Right. Any marking? Not really. Okay. I've got a plan. It's gonna be great. I am going to solder a bit of this true. Hey, yeah, so hey to make me. How is it going with you? Make me is a YouTuber from Canada. If anybody isn't familiar with him, should check it out. I think it's, yeah. Well, I was gonna say I think it's Make Me Lab. It's exactly what it is in the chat there. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut a small strip of this. I'm going to stick it up through there. Is that going to work? If I use stranded wire, it might be a better idea. This is very stiff. I'd have to be really accurate to where it fits in. I could solder it in the box. That would probably work out pretty good for me. Needs to be this side. to just make a decision and stick with it. Cool. Feather with current sensing transmitting over LoRa. I've never used LoRa, I keep meaning to, but haven't gotten around to it yet. Okay, no, we're not going to do what I was thinking of. We're going to do what Eric suggested, and we're going to shorten tabs, and we're going to use stranded wire for extra flexibility. So yep. I think my snips could break her. Leave one side a bit longer than the other. You can tell them apart. Also, this is going to be hard to solder to. This is my file, just to make it less liable to cut me. Yeah, it's not great, but it'll do. Will I use stranded wire? Maybe. Yeah, stranded wire is a lot more bendable, so it's probably worth using that. Right, I'm gonna give this 20 more minutes and I'm gonna finish up, or I'll probably be getting a divorce. Because I still have to cook dinner. So make me lab. There we go. Right, which one is which now? So the slightly longer one is our positive. So let's tin out this wire. Where are we? Where's my solder? Soldering iron is turned off. I didn't show you that part. I just tinned out the wire. So I'm just literally applying a bit of solder and running my soldering iron along, and that is, so makes it a bit more solid to solder to. I don't need anywhere near this much of it though, so I'm just gonna snip it down a bit. Now, let's put a bit of solder on my tab here. It's not too bad. Oh. That's not a good connection. That's better, alright. Now, I think I will put a small bit of yeah, seems alright. I think I will put a small bit of heat shrink, but maybe like half of what I put on the last time. My heat shrink is gone, my desk has just gone to a mess. So the thing about stranded wire is it's a lot more flexible for bending, so it should be easier to be a bit neater with this wire. So I'm just putting a tiny bit of it on now. So like that's, you know, nearly not the same as, that's nearly the same length as the tab was before. So I think that was a good suggestion by Make Me to make it smaller. So I'm just going to use my soldering iron again to shrink it up. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's use some black stranded wire. Build time is in. Yeah, that's true. If I used the proper case or a bigger case, I'd be done. I'd say at this stage, no problem. Like, isn't most of what I've been doing is just trying to fit this in. So I think you're right. Use the right size case and be done with it. There we go. Okay. So we can snip some of this. My back is getting tired now from leaning over so much. Yeah, everyone learn from my mistakes anyways. Use a bigger case. Where are we? There, I think. Iron tip is filthy. Nice blob of it there. Melt. Even melted some into the plastic, so it's even more sturdy. Okay, I have a little small piece of heat shrink left. Just do the trick. See ya, Eric. Thanks for stopping by. There we go. Now, okie dokie. So, I think I need to just go back on itself pretty quickly and go downwards. I'm just stripping that pretty short. I'll do the same with this one. Give it a little bit longer. Now, if this doesn't work out, I quit. Oops, sorry. There we go. Probably cut off a bit more than I wanted to there on the ground one, but it'll be okay. So I'm just going to drop this thread in and I'm going to solder it, and then I'll worry about repositioning it afterwards. So let's pull the outer again. So I'm just twisting these up. It's probably worth, yeah, I kind of don't know what to do in terms of, like, if you tin these wires out now, it makes them more solid, and like when you're pushing them through holes or whatever, they won't kind of fray apart, but it also makes them harder to push through the holes. So the red one is fraying apart. Loosen up enough. Okay, I can bend them that way. Actually pretty impressed with this vise. It's working out pretty good so far, I would say. It's not too bad. Make back up soldering iron. That's it connected back up to the capacitor. I could hold it in place with this thing, and then try melt some solder to get it to stick to it. That worked alright. I don't like that I brought it more towards ground though. Yeah, should do. Yep, it's not too bad. Okay. Okay. I think that's much better. Yeah, that looks a whole lot better. I guess the real truth now is when I put this over there. Yeah, it'll be fine. Cool. It even has enough bend to be completely out of the way. Okay, that's perfect. Right, let's hurry up and finish this thing off. So, just 2 seconds, actually. Sorry about that. Do you ever do circuits deadbug style depending on the situation? I don't know what deadbug style is. I've never used anything but perf board yet. Have been planning a couple of builds that I probably will use at some stage, but haven't yet anyways. Okay, so let's keep that down there. And then bring this up here. So this is just the wire that's going to the Wemos ground. I don't need to connect that to anything else. May as well do that, and I may as well do the diode, wherever I put it. There it is. I might run a wire because it's a bit long. I need to get it up here and also over here, so I might just run a wire and just put the diode in after that. So I'll use have a little bit of red wire here. It's stranded. It is. I'd rather use non-stranded. It's the stranded one I literally was just looking at. So that's going to go there and up. Then it's going to bring it over here. Stop it here, I guess. But I need to strip off some. here. Yeah. So that's going in there, going along to here, and then down there. And then it's going to go probably this way to where the diode is. So the diode, I want to go this direction. So it's blocking out the, if I'm plugging in the USB from even attempting to power the, the LED matrix. So that should go in like that. Move that direction, and I can move that direction. Right, we have a couple new things to solder up that we may as well do. In that direction. Still need to solder up the actual Wemos, but I'll get to it. Wake up. This is dangerous now. That's not solder. It's just stripped wire. I should not have that lying around my desk when I'm trying to solder. Be a while waiting for that to melt, as I joked about earlier. Okay, so this is the diode, so I'm soldering the diode to the wire that we hooked up. So this is going to 5 volts, or the 5 volt pin on the Wemos. Now this is the ground pin. Ouch. The leg of the diode burnt me. It didn't really burn me, but let's head in that direction. Yeah, so let me just tidy that up a bit. Oh yes, no, I never do that actually. Oh, dead bug, yeah. No, not normally anyways. I don't know, I just prefer the solidness of doing a perf board or whatever. Oh, I don't like the way that moved. I wonder, did I desolder the... No, I never really do that anyways, to answer your question. Yeah, I see people do it a good bit, and especially with like guitar pedals and stuff, like to build a fuzz pedal with just soldering the stuff together, like, and it looks cool in a way, but I don't know, I just prefer using a breadboard or a perf board. I'm actually pretty impressed with the solder stand. It's been working out pretty good. I thought it was a bit slow to adjust, but I guess, you know, you're only adjusting it enough to take the thing out, so it's not too big a deal. It's, the area's a bit bright, isn't it? Is it better? It's still kind of reflective. It's not a huge amount I can do about that at the moment now. Don't want to do that. Can trim that. Can trim that. bit high. That looks okay. Oh, black is a bit out. It's not too bad. Just trimming off some of the excess bits. Now, so the only thing I've left to do is I have to get the Wemos in, and I also need to get the power in for the LED matrix, and I should have done this a little bit different, but anyways. Okay, so that goes in there. So I think I can probably just put the LED, or sorry, the resistor like down there, like underneath the board. Should be fine. An LED, which was orange, brown, gold. It's probably, what's that, 330 ohm? So, let's just see where this lies again. So, I think I can fit the resistor down here. Should be okay. Yeah, I guess it depends. If I'm soldering different wires together like that, maybe. Not always though. When I was in college, when I was learning how to solder, I used to use the strip boards. You know, not the perf boards where like each dot is isolated from each other, but I have one here. That didn't sit well. Yeah, so you can see the difference between the two of them. And I guess I found this a bit easier for keeping my solder connections nice and neat. But I find this hard to source, or at least cheaply. So I've started to use this, and I guess I'm just, I don't know, being better safe than sorry by using the thick connections. But sure they'll do. So I'm gonna put my resistor there, put the other side there. Right, so he's nice and thick in there. I'll probably put him that direction. So I can cut some of this green wire. I might have a hard time getting it into the wire stripper, so I'll just strip it manually. So that looks okay. I'll put them like that. I'll try and make this one smaller now for max, or less thick. Yeah, like if I was doing a PCB soldering together a PCB, I definitely wouldn't normally make it thick like that anyways, but I'm sure I have a piece of solder lying around somewhere, but just grab a fresh one. Okay. Think nice and small. A little more. That's not too bad. Oh, it's still pretty thick. But sorry, Max. The pads easily come loose, and connecting multiple pads may help. Yeah, I'd agree with that too. That sometimes the pads come off these, so it is handy to, like, here, it's a bit hard to see for you guys. I have like the two of them connected to each other, so like I have the wire from the resistor going across to the pad that the wire is coming out of, and same for the other way around, so it's been held down by two copper pads rather than just the one, just for a bit of extra stability. And even like if the pads lifted, the two wires should be connected to each other, so it shouldn't come out through any holes or anything. Okay, so all that I've left to do now is connect in the LED matrix, so I need to clear some room on my desk. If I clear room on my desk, I mean just move some stuff out of the way to allow me to bring in the matrix. Might have enough room now. Here's the LED matrix, and it has 3 wires. Purple is ground, orange is 5 volts, and yellow is signal in. For whatever reason, I don't know. But yeah. So my plan is to have it down this way. And then have these wires come in. It's gonna be relatively tight, but we'll see how it goes. Right, I'm just gonna cut the connection to the current one because I probably could do with having a cleaner strip or whatever. That one could do with being a bit bigger too. So, oops, I'm not showing you anything at the moment. Still not showing you anything. So yeah, I'm just gonna strip these down. So orange is my 5 volts. you know what I might do as well, just to speed up the process, is I'm going to drop the, oh, I don't know if it'll do anything without the rotary encoder. I was saying that I just put the Wemos in that was in that breadboard earlier. Come out. This isn't the best of wire. It's pretty thin. I don't know where I got this. It's not from my Adafruit set, anyways. Because I don't have purple or orange from Adafruit. Oh, sorry. That is incredibly unfocused. So I just stripped these wires back. Yeah. Oh, this is an actual genuine Wemos. Let's hope it fits in this time. One more. It's probably a slightly different shaped PCB, so I'm hoping everything fits okay. So this green wire is just stopping it from going down at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. I could go under these. Or do you know what might be better? I might connect them pretty close to where they need to go. Like, as in literally put them straight in here and then use another wire to connect them to wherever they need to go, because these are fairly short. Yeah, that might be the way to go. So like if I drop this in here and connected it to ground, yeah, why not? And put that over there. So I need this to go in the hole as well. Let's see how that works out. So there's a little bit of a gap. It's the wrong way around. gives me enough room to get in and around up there. And out. Pause you down there for a second. Yeah, I'm going to solder all of them just into here, and then bring them up and around, and bring whatever needs to be brought to them. And that one I can bring to here. Bring it up and around. I'd say if I wasn't streaming, I would have given up by now. But I don't want you to all see how much I give up. Well, hopefully you all learned a valuable lesson. Don't try and make things fit. Give yourself loads of room. I've got 2 points there. I could just solder in. If I put them, if I left, have enough. If I did this, would I have enough room to fit purple down? I think I will. Okay. I'm just gonna do it. Where is my blue tack? Here's some. I'm not even going to bend these any particular direction. I'm just going to solder them in, and the wire that I'm going to bring to meet them, I'll bend whatever way I need to bend it. It's still not solder. Those two held in place. If I put it there, let's put it straight in beside the ground, bend it over like this. Should be flexing what the LED lights are plugged into. I'm sorry, what the LEDs are glued onto it. Let's just get this done. So that was it connected to ground. So ground is done. Now I need to bring something to connect it to. Switch left on the screen. Yep, there's enough. So I need to connect to yellow, which is signal, which I had used green for before, so I'll continue to use green. Blue tack. It honestly is, yeah. I use it so much for all my projects. I don't know if I left this long enough. Yeah, I think I did. Down you go. The only problem is I need orange to go over it. I can send orange over it at any stage. If I was thinking properly, I should have had yellow and orange the other way around, but we are where we are. Let's get a bit of red. long enough. Oh, no problem. Thanks, Crafty. Yeah, it's a really cool piece of software. It's I was when I first came across it on Reddit or somewhere, and someone was like, "Oh, use Mac Lighting." I was like, "That sounds like something from the Cars movie or something." And I was like, checked it out, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually pretty cool." And then in there would probably work for me. Will it? Ugh, no, it will not. Here might work for me. Because I was in the middle of black ground. I don't, anyways, have those skills. I can do some web development, but putting a bootstrap web interface on it is about all I'd be able to do, so they've already got that covered. Slot it over there and then back around. So it actually doesn't need to be much shorter, really. Just strip it where it is. Ugh. Might have even stripped too much off it there, did I? No. Rightio. Send it off towards the 5-volt line. Right. I don't think my blue tack will be strong enough to hold this down now. And I can't really use my grips anymore. There. That'll do me. Let's go. Straighten this up a bit. I don't think Max will be too happy with that one though, but I'm not overly happy with it myself, but it'll do, I think. Hey Dave, how's it going? Maybe I'm the new Dave Watts. I don't think so. He does a stream on a Sunday, actually, does he? Or it's not. It's not a stream actually. He just does a video on a Sunday. It's like Sunday Coffee or somebody calls it. Or something. Yeah, I guess, sure. I'm bound to have some of the same people joining anyways because of, I don't know, we're similar enough in what we cover. I really want to press that down, but I know it's going to burn me if I do. We'll do that is not good, but it'll do. Yes, lazy Sunday. I don't know why I thought it was coffee Sunday or something. Or morning coffee. Somebody does a morning coffee. Oh, it's Barnacles, is it? Or it does morning coffee. Yeah, are many going to get his clock? It's binary clock counter, isn't it? Looks pretty cool. He's been working on it for a while, I think. So he posted up on YouTube community section or whatever that he got the latest batch of boards for it in. I'm not fully happy with that one, and it is, what is that? That's signal. We can do a little bit better. Sorry, I know I'm not talking as much as I should be, but just trying to get this done now at this stage. Okay, so that should be everything other than the Wemos now. I need to remember to snip that one, because that is 5 volts to the Wemos. Right, wish me luck. First of all, hopefully everything fits under here. Ooh, that might be a problem. The micro USB cable or port is in the way of that red wire anyways. Possibly that green wire. Ugh, sugar. I don't know if I lifted the solder pad on that now. Didn't feel great. No, it's still in one piece anyways. Hopefully that's moved it enough out of the way. It's still in the way. Might be able to just... There. Bit of brute force. Okay. We don't need to have it down this tight actually, so we can let it sort of loose a small bit. Probably gives me a bit of room either side. Doesn't need to be flush tight down with the board. prefer when it is, but I think it makes more sense to leave a little bit of room. Power supply soldering. So how far is this project? Power supply soldering. No, I'm not soldering anything to do with the power supply. It's I have the LED matrix done. It's under here. So this is just the control board. I had it on a breadboard before, but now I want to put it in something more permanent. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay. I have to get it here. Yep, that'll do me. While I remember, let's snip that off. Where are my goggles? I don't know where Dave or Julian are. I know Dave's in London, actually, I think. Dave's in London, as if I'm not mistaken, or maybe I am. Julian, I've no idea. Big Clive is in the Isle of Man, which is an island. I think it's between Ireland and England. I'm actually not sure where the Isle of Man is. So we're geographically at least somewhat dispersed. I actually would like to start going to meetups or like maker fairs or things like that. I showed in the live stream the last day that Hackaday.io have an unconference on in Dublin in, I think it's in April, and I'm gonna go to that. That should be pretty interesting. But yeah, no, I wouldn't mind going to like a maker fair or something. I think is the nearest one to me Newcastle or Paris, maybe. Like Paris would be a pretty big one, I think. It's hideous, but it'll do. So I think that's it done. I should probably just put a couple of extra solder points for the holding the board in place. But this is the worst soldering of my life. I don't care anymore. I just want to go eat. It's not even eat, I need to cook first. That'll do. Okay. The moment of truth. Does this close? What are we thinking? Can't go there, and I missed the Belgrade one too. Yeah, I was looking at the Belgrade one. Probably when you have a young kid, it's hard to get away for stuff. So probably lucky enough I can go to the Dublin. Never mind going to Belgrade, but yeah, I thought it looked cool though. What are we thinking? Is this gonna work? Holds in place, anyways. Let's use some more blue tack. Just for the moment, let's use some blue tack to hold it in place. wouldn't be surprised if I knocked a few LEDs off now, but okay. What do we think, chat? I hope it works too. Alright, so my blue tack isn't holding it in place too well, but that's okay. So it should just be a case of plugging this in, and it should hopefully do something. Didn't seem to do much. Don't smell any smoke either though, which is probably a good thing. Do I have anything wrong? Obviously wrong. Soldered the right Arduino. The connection at D7 looks really poor. So I might fix that up a small bit. I don't think that's my problem though. What my problem is, I'm not too sure. Right. I guess the best thing to do would be to start measuring some stuff with the multimeter. I'm a bit worried about stuff on the table here. Shorting out anything. See how it goes. Let's stick it up on this. And the Wemos is powering on anyways. No LEDs though. No continuity test first. I normally would, but I'm just in such a rush. Like I should have finished like an hour ago. I can't. When you rush things, you break things. Right, so. This should be ground, this blob here. And that should be 5 volts. And it is. Right, no problems there. So I think this should be 5 volts. And it is not. Right. Is that definitely the right one? That's orange. Okay, so I'm losing my 5 volts somewhere. Sorry, blocking it out for me there. So let's do continuity. Okay. Cheap multimeter you buy twice. Alright, there's definitely something up with that. Seems like a bad connection there. That should be working much better than that. So that's ground. Let's test that out. It's not working at all. Maybe it's my ground that's bad. That should be working and it's not doing anything. Right. This ground is coming in here. Oh, I've done the wrong way around, do I? Do I? So this one, this is the one that is 5 volts. I am connecting that to I'm connecting the 5 volts to the 5 volts that's here to ground rather than to 5 volts. So that's probably, that would probably explain it. Ugh, this is awful. Now, where is my hooky thing? Because once I get this melted, I'm gonna try to get it out of there. Try to lift it with the soldering iron. That's it out of there. Should be in a position to bend it now. Use pliers to not burn myself. Okay, it's not perfect, but I should be able to solder that in. The first thing I want to do is try and move this away from it. It's not too bad. Where's my solder? There's some solder. This is hideous, but hideous, hideous, hideous. crafty. One of my first projects for working with this kind of stuff was a device for turning on and off my immersion, if that makes any sense to you. So now, oh sorry, it's resistance. Yeah, that seems much better on the ground. So no short, there it is. Yeah, and what it was a servo that actually flicked my switch up and down, like my physical switch. So I'm not even gonna bother put it in the case this time. I'm just gonna plug it in, hope for the best, because I'm gonna have to finish now, regardless if this works or not. Woohoo! I don't know if you can see that, but it is working. So let me just throw it in its case and hope that it continues to work after it's been put in its case. It's getting a lot more difficult to put it in. Is there something in the way? There's something not fitting in at the moment. That's probably that. Okay. It's just the two wires are kind of up on top of each other. Oh, it's still not fitting in right. What's up with that? Oh, yeah, this needs to slot down there. Right? Why won't you slot in? Oh, maybe it was. Oh, it's probably meant to go on this way, was it? It looks fine that way, anyways. Yep, so there we go. Back is killing me. I'm hungry, thirsty, tired. Module pin's too long. No, I think we're good. There we go. And I don't know if you remember from earlier, there was kind of like a flickering, or I was talking about a flickering, if any of you have been here long enough. That's not there anymore, so there we go. Let's put it in its case. Taking it this far, may as well put it in. Where's the way? That's the plexiglass in. that by itself. Let's close down these tabs. Oh, you can't see that. Hammer would have accelerated the entire thing, alright. I felt like using a hammer at a few stages, I think. Right, so that's that. I guess I can stick that on the side, or whatever that ends up being, the top or the side, or whichever way it is. But stretch my camera out enough now. Oops, dropping stuff all over the place. So yeah, you can't really see that because it's too bright, I think, but that is the finished product. So pretty nice. Yeah, I'm way over, so I need to finish up there, but thanks a lot for joining, and I'll see you again. I'll update the description with actually I have nothing to update the description with. Yeah, I'll talk about this project again probably tomorrow, because there's a few improvements I'd like to make to it. I probably will not use that case again for my next version of it. I'd say it's nice and neat there, but it took a bit of work. But yeah. Right, thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy.